everyone, I'm Yael, and I'm happy to welcome you to the first episode of our Meet the Weezard series with Thierry Weber, partner at Vivactis Switzerland. Hi, Thierry. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Yael. Hello, everybody.
I'm very happy to have you here, and I would like you to present yourself a little bit to introduce our viewers to your expertise and what you're doing at Vivactis, please.
Sure, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Thierry Weber. I am physician by background, and I worked for a part of my life as a clinician in hospitals and a private practice, and then moved on to the industry, pharmaceutical and then medtech, where I held various positions in marketing and also in scientific projects. From the very beginning of my career in the industry, I showed interest for the digital world, and this continued throughout the rest of my career, including in the agency world, where I am at the moment with Vivactis. Vivactis is quite a large scientific communications group of agencies localized in Europe. We are, of which I'm a partner, and we are around 250 people working in the field of healthcare and life sciences, working for the industry as well as healthcare centers, hospitals, clinics, NGOs active in the healthcare sector, etc.
Okay, and what are your main activities? I mean, you talked about communication, and you have a background in marketing, but do you have more specific activities there?
Yeah, absolutely. We have 5 main areas of activities. The first one is market access. We can really help, for instance, a pharmaceutical company that needs to bring a product to the market, particularly in Europe. We do also marketing strategies, business intelligence, market analysis, all these aspects of market access. Then the second area is omni-channel marketing, with a strong focus on digital, which is one of the specificities of Vivactis, to be very active in digital, and that was before COVID, by the way. The third area is medical education and scientific writing. We can organize medical advisory boards. We can organize larger congresses. Also, we write scientific articles, scientific reports as well from these congresses. The fourth area is clinical studies. We have a CRO activity within Vivactis, which is located in France. So with an outreach on the European market, it's registered as a European CRO. And the last area, last but not least, because patient is, of course, our main focus. That's why we work as an agency, is really in the interest of patients. So we do a lot of direct-to-patient communication, disease awareness, patient coaching programs, etc.
Amazing. So yeah, there is a very strong educational and pedagogical aspect in your work, from what I understand.
Absolutely, yes, and so, that's all.
Yeah. Please continue, please.
No, that as much for the industry as also for scientific societies. We have within our customer portfolio quite a few European scientific societies that we work for, and also, of course, for university hospitals. For instance, in Switzerland, we work for various university hospitals, helping them bring the digital medical education tools into their training curriculum.
Okay, so if that's fine with you, I would like to start by talking about med education. And I think this is a very interesting topic, because our viewers will be happy to learn more about how you help with the training of physicians. And of course, we should talk also about how COVID impacted on this activity, if that's fine with you.
Of course. we started to introduce digital tools long before the COVID, and I'd like to insist on this aspect, because once again, digital for us, Vivactis, has always been a key aspect of medical education. In Europe, in most countries nowadays, the training of physicians is very strictly organized. Physicians need to gather some what we call CME points in order to keep their registration and to keep their specialization. So this has been the case for quite a long time in most European countries. It's coming in other countries in the world, but you know, overall, worldwide, it's a habit nowadays to have these regulations in place in order to make sure that physicians continue their continuous training throughout their professional life. And digital tools are nothing else than other, you know, supplementary tools that have been added over time, and not only since the beginning of COVID. So have been added over time, and physicians have got used to these tools more and more. So the arrival of the COVID situation, or the start of the COVID situation hasn't changed much in the way that physicians train, because they had got used to that way anyway. What it has changed, certainly, is the fact that physicians struggled in accessing these physical meetings, because all the physical meetings have been cancelled, or in good cases postponed. And cancelled again for some of them. Some of the meetings have been cancelled like for 2 years now, since the beginning of COVID. So these tools have taken a bigger role in education, but it shouldn't be. They were there before, basically. They were really there before, and that's something we have been familiar with at Vivactis.
Yeah. But did you manage during the COVID to achieve an efficient physician training? Because I mean, part of the training should be physical. They have probably to be in the same room with the trainer or with the patients or with a new device, probably to in order to get the training. So did it impact on the efficiency of the trainings?
Now, there are two types of physicians, I would say. I'm sorry for being very basic with my classification, but there are the ones that need the practical training. So these, for instance, are the surgeons and people like that, and they're the other ones who don't necessarily need physical trainings, but for whom physical trainings are certainly a nice to have, because that's a way also of socializing, meeting their peers. And we all know that, you know, a meeting is always a physical face-to-face meeting is always better than a Zoom like we are doing today. But however, during that very special period of the COVID, well, all the physicians got used to it. Including the ones who needed practical trainings. They got used to the fact that, well, during a certain period of time, they didn't have the usual practical trainings that they used to have. And they all knew that it wouldn't last, and it's the case. Nowadays, physical trainings are coming back into place, fortunately.
That's good news.
Yes, indeed, I agree with you, absolutely. I mean, I'm in great favor of physical meetings. However, I also believe that digital tools are a way of keeping the continuum of training throughout the year, without people having to travel. And, you know, for very short meetings. I've got an example. I mean, I went to a meeting for a 1.5 hour meeting to San Francisco from Geneva. You know, this doesn't make any sense. And I think all these very short meetings like that will be conducted online instead of having the people to travel all around the world for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Now I kind of lost track. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, but
Oh, that's good, because I mean you have a lot to say, so that's great.
yeah.
What I really love about what you're saying is that, I mean, from what I hear, the digitalization of this not only was a solution during COVID, but is also bringing a better cost effectiveness and better flexibility as well in terms of training, because you can do better things and more things with less money and with a shorter period of time.
Yes, and the eco-responsibility aspect is also, of course, important.
Absolutely.
But once again, and our aim, at least at Vivactis, is certainly not to say, well, all the physical meetings should be replaced with digital meetings. That's not the idea. It was the case during the COVID period, where gradually, hopefully, getting out of this terrible period, which was terrible for everyone. So now I think the future really lies with a mixture of digital meetings and physical meetings. I can give you an example of that situation. I mean, recently we had to organize a small meeting, a scientific advisory board with key opinion leaders in Switzerland. So, you know, short distance traveling, short distance, etc. We gave the choice there were 12 participants to that very small meeting, and we gave them the choice, would you prefer a physical meeting or would you prefer a virtual meeting? And all of the 12 answered a virtual meeting, because like that, they managed to skip the traveling time.
Yeah.
We were very, very surprised by that, because we thought that in contrary, people wanted to meet physically, getting out of the COVID situation. But it seems that it's not the case. It seems that for certain types of meetings, digital tools have replaced, in the minds of the participants to these meetings, have replaced physical meetings.
That's
so I think the future is really going to be like that. It's going to be small meetings can be conducted online because people have got used to it, and like that they avoid the traveling time. If there is a social bit to the meeting itself, well, then people are ready to travel. If it's like a two days meeting, then people are ready to make the effort to attend those meetings, because sitting in front of a computer for 2 days doesn't make any sense either.
No.
So,
I mean,
so that's the
quite
future.
logical. Yeah, actually, that's very logical. They can insert the small meetings in their business day, and when it's a more significant one, they have to travel, and that makes sense. I mean,
yes.
Okay, very, very interesting, actually. And I know that you're also working with the sales teams. Did you have the same pattern during the COVID? I mean, did you see the same changes and the same rise of digitalization?
Yes, absolutely. Now, once again, I think it's the same principle. The digital meetings will not replace physical sales meetings. These are compulsory also for the team building effect. You have to have the people meet and mingle with one another during the social event, which is always linked, to these sales meetings. Yeah. But for shorter meetings, like for instance, if you just want to cover, I don't know, the outcome of a new study, for instance, which you want to discuss with your peers, well then, for half an hour or an hour's meeting, those Zooms and like are really, really useful. So probably also what is going to happen also in companies is will be a mixture between larger meetings, so 2 days physical meetings, once a year, for instance, or twice a year, instead of having them 4 times a year. And then the other meetings will be shorter, more frequent, and will cover defined topics. At least this is what we see in our practice, and we are very fortunate with Vivactis because we have some tools in place which we own, which can really be very, very close with the 3D aspect, which can be very close to the physical meetings. We also have gaming functionalities, team building functionalities, e-learning functionalities in our platform, in our 3D virtual reality platform, which means that we can be very close to that. However, we are not going to recommend to use these platforms to replace fully all the physical meetings, because that's not the idea, and that's where no one wants to go. We don't want to become an avatar. We want to become avatar when we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question for you, because I've been used to work with the sales team in my past, and I know how important the relationship between the sales reps and the physician he is visiting is important. And during COVID, this wasn't possible. And I would like to know if you had to add some guiding tools for these sales reps, besides, the technical and medical information.
Yes, indeed. What we had to do when the visits were not possible, and it was unfortunately the case. And by the way, the physicians themselves suffered from it, because there's still a lot of physicians that believe in those interactions with the sales reps. However, we had the tools in place which were able to not replace, I wouldn't use that word, but to do whatever it could, given that special situation.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was not very successful. The fact of trying to replace the human touch with the physician, so replace the sales reps, was not very successful. It's not something we want particularly to continue. But on the other hand, what was very useful was to introduce those tools as a way of supporting the work of real physical, sales reps, not replacing them. But for instance, the detailing tools which we had developed before the COVID situation were, of course, very well used during the COVID situation. But nowadays, they are starting to be used again, now that the visits are possible again, as support tools. So we've got really impressive virtual reality tools which the sales rep can use to, for instance, show a product or show a mode of action to the physician in a much more effective way than simply showing a detailing aid, for instance, or paper detailing aid, as it was the case in the past.
Interesting. And did you see a reluctance in adopting these new tools from your clients? And if so, was there a difference between maybe NGOs or institutions and large companies and startups? Did you see a difference, or were they very keen to use these new tools?
When you say clients, do you mean the industry, or do you mean
I'm talking about the industry, the teams you are training?
Yeah, it really varies from one company to another. Some are very innovative, some are less innovative, I would say. So it varies from one company to another. I can't say it's about a question of size. It's because some startups are surprisingly non-innovative. So, and some, for instance, you can have a CEO in a very large company who's totally innovative and who's going to push to bring these tools on board. So you can't classify them.
Okay, interesting. So as the last question, do you have take-home message about the medical education and the way you see the future of training? I mean, we understand now that there is a larger part of digitalization. We understand also that the human factor still remains very important. Do you see something else happening in the upcoming years?
Yeah. I see the role of the industry growing because the industry's got very, very good training content. I would say particularly in the medtech sector, where they've got, I mean, their role in training, for instance, when introducing a new product to a surgeon, for instance, their role in training the surgeons is very important. So therefore, they have developed a lot of highly interesting and useful training content. And I think that companies should be proud of this content. They should, as much as possible, stay away from trying to push commercial content, but really stay in the educational field. And then they have a role to play, I think, in education. And scientific societies are starting really to understand that. They're, for instance, accrediting some sponsored trainings, which was not necessarily possible in the past. But for instance, multi-sponsored trainings can be accredited in most countries in Europe. So this is a very interesting tendency, I think, because the industry can play a role in upgrading the quality of the training content. And I think this is something that's going to happen in the years to come, yes.
A great thing to look forward to. That was amazing. Thank you very much, Thierry, for this episode. And we'll continue with another one soon.